If you go to car boot sales or antique fairs or flea markets, like me, you've walked past thousands upon thousands of pieces of antique brassware. What I'm going to show you today though are 6 pieces that I bought recently which are exceptional. They're high value, they're beautiful, and they have amazing histories. So this video is more than just me showing you what I bought. I'm going to show you why I bought them and make sure that you never walk past these items again. Before we get started, I will give you some credentials. My name is Kieran Hughes Jones. I am a full-time antiques dealer based in South Wales in the United Kingdom. I do this for a living. I go out, buy antiques, and then I try and sell them for a profit to keep my business going. If you want to see my pieces and what I do, visit my website, which is taliesinantiques.com, link in the description, and you can go and see the amazing pieces I have, hundreds and hundreds, full stories, full histories, all on my website. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I think we're around 750 subscribers now. Now, if you go back and look at my videos, I talk you through all the pieces I'm finding, why I bought them, why they were picking up yourselves. There's lots of interesting information, so please go back, have a watch and subscribe, like the videos and leave some comments. It all really helps my channel grow. But we'll get into the subject at hand today. We'll talk about antique brass. Now, what is antique brass? Now, fundamentally, it's a metal. It's an alloy, which is a combination of mainly copper and zinc. Now, there are some other additions, but I won't get too technical on it. And the different amounts you have will determine different things like quality and how it looks, that type of thing. Now, the history of it goes back over 2,000 years. It's been used for a very long time. However, most of the pieces you're going to see when you're at your car boot sales, at the antique fairs, at the flea markets, are going to be probably from the 20th century, 19th century, some pieces going into the 18th century. That's what the majority is. Ancient brass is rare to find. Now, why is that? Now, during the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century, brass became far more popular than ever, especially in Europe and mainly in Britain. However, brass has been used across the world. It's been used in Africa, it's been used across Asia and across Europe for centuries. So why is it so popular? Why do you see so much of it? Well, it's because as a metal, it has so many benefits to using it. It is a very practical metal, so it doesn't corrode over time. So unlike iron, for example, which will rust and become damaged, brass doesn't. It just grows a nice patina. Also, it is a lot easier to shape and mold than, say, another copper alloy, which is bronze, and copper itself. These are much more, and also those two things are a lot more expensive than brass, so it's got a lot of things going for it. Now, from a decorative point of view, what really makes it stand out again is that it has a resemblance to gold, the ancient metal that we as a species are absolutely obsessed with. So it looks like gold, so it has that decorative purpose as well. So it's for those reasons that you see brass everywhere. Like, name a setting and you will find it. Churches, military, fire engines, houses, what else am I thinking? Bars, restaurants, hotels, just industrial, anything you can think of. In fact, if you're looking around in your house or wherever you're sat at the minute, there's a good chance you're going to see some brass fittings around. They're making candlesticks, door handles, they're making vases, planters, things to go indoors and outdoors. So much of the stuff that we used was made by brass, and in fact is made of brass rather. And when you think of it like that, it makes you realise what an important metal it is to our history. The growth and the use of it is part of what changed the world during the Industrial Revolution. It has an important place in the history and development of the world. So I guess what this means is that there is a lot of it around. And how do you separate the standard mass-produced everyday items that don't contain a high value because they're so easy to find, to something which is worth spending more on, which is worth a lot more than just its scrap value? So I put it down to 3 things. Okay, so it's context, construction and quality. Now, when we talk about context, what I mean by that is, what was it made for? Is it made to symbolize? Is it made for a bespoke functional reason? Is it something that is out of the ordinary? It's the why. Why does this item exist? So let me give you an example. Candlesticks. Now, there are candlesticks were mass produced in brass. However, there are some which stand out. in a different way decorative? Do they have a style at the time? Do they have an Art Nouveau, art and craft, Rococo style on them that makes them actually a lot better than just a standard plain candlestick? So that's what I look for first of all. Why does this item exist? Is it mass produced, or is it a rarer, scarcer, more bespoke item? We next go on to its construction. Now, when it comes to brass, it's so practical and so functional, so easy for people to use in terms of an industrial sense, that it can be, again, it comes down to that point, mass produced versus bespoke quality. Now, construction, you're looking, is it cast? Is there tool marks on it? Has there been a high level of relief on there? Is there a distinctive pattern? Is there a symbolism? Is it clearly not just made on a factory press and just put out, loads of these items were put out? Is there something about it which means it couldn't just, it's more likely to be a one-off or very few of them made? And finally, it's quality. Now, like with a lot of things when it comes to antiques, weight is a factor. The heavier a piece means the more investment that the makers put into it. Now, if they're prepared to put more investment into it, then it's usually going to be for a reason. It's going to be higher quality. It's not just because it's heavier, therefore it's worth more from a scrap metal point of view. Now, I've referred to that a few times. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's where you could just take it to a metal recycling merchant who will just pay you a scrap value based on the weight of the item. I think in the UK that's around $350 at the minute. Converting that to dollars, that's around, I'm just plucking from the air, but it's probably about 420 or something like that dollars. So it's about, not just the weight of it from that sense, you're thinking about it from an investment point of view when you're talking about quality, but it's also just how it looks. Again, I'm repeating myself, but it's really important. Is it distinctive? Is it bespoke, rare, an unusual form, or has unusual symbolism on there? Or is it just something that would have been churned out? Is it from a sheet brass? Is it just from a sheet of brass that's just been pressed, or has it been finely cast, then fired, then really put a lot of effort and more time into it? So three simple ways to separate the standard brass items from the real quality and the ones worth buying. Now, I'm going to now show you what that means in a real sense. I'm going to show you 6 items that I bought recently, and I think you're going to be blown away by these. I'm going to start off with the best, and I'm going to show you an absolute monster of Victorian industrial engineering and manufacture. Have a look at that. A huge bench brass turret, and as you can see, it has these 4 taps and the opening here. Now have a look at that. You have not seen anything like that, I'm pretty sure of it. If you have, please let me know. I haven't before. This is a one of a kind, picked up at a car boot sale. Now have a look at the amount of work that's gone into this. This is a really heavy piece, easily over 5 kilograms, probably closer to 10. It's a very heavy piece to hold. Now what makes this unusual is it has, as you see, these 4 taps here, all still in working order. I think it has Bakelite on the lids there as well. Now looking this up, I was thinking, well, what was that made for? The guy I bought it from said it came from a coffee shop, and thought it might have been used on the coffee machine. Now I'd like to see the coffee machine which had this sat on top of it. It'd be an amazing thing to see. I can see why he thought that with the taps, and you've seen how they work, but that can't have been the purpose. What I think this was made for, and I've done a lot of investigation into it, the most likely thing is that this was made for a lab. This is a bespoke piece. You will find lab taps like this from the Victorian era. We're talking like late 19th century into the early 20th century, but they are so small. They're not, probably a quarter the size of best of this. This is an absolute huge piece, heavy, just so much of its time. I absolutely love it. It's a piece of architectural salvage. Well, you just cannot find better than that. So in terms of what you can do with it now, well, there's a few purposes. This is not something that everyone's going to have in their house, is it? But could you repurpose this? Well, yeah, you could. You would need to make it food safe, but you probably could do something with it. I was thinking, imagine that in a bar or restaurant as a centerpiece, where they had something coming out of these 2 taps, whether that be whatever they do with their cocktails and all that sort of stuff. Not my type of thing, but I've seen it done. A hotel, just an absolute centerpiece, or this could sit, in my opinion, in the museum just to show what they were making back at that time. But This is one of those that we go on a trade a find me another piece. I don't think you will. Now I'll show you what the asking price is. That will probably shock a lot of people. But yeah, brass taps from the Victorian era, good size, but I've seen people asking for, you know, over £2,000 for them. And this is a one of a kind, and because it's that, find me another. I mean, I'm not bothered about this going anytime soon. If someone wants this, they're gonna have to pay the find me another price. What an amazing thing, and a great example of a piece of brass that you do not leave behind. So here's a piece which shows you how brass was used to create not just functional but beautifully decorative things which really symbolize their era. Now have a look. This is a French planter or jardinière. It could be used as a centerpiece. What we're looking at is from the era in France known as La Belle Époque. So that is the beautiful era. It's late 19th century to up till the First World War. And there was a lot of revivalist pieces. The Rococo style had been revived as well, which was all about this sort of natural leaves and scrolls. And this is a perfect example of that. Beautifully cast, the shape, just every side of this has a slightly different look of it. I just can imagine this being made to sit in a salon or a cafe, possibly lighted up. It's just one of those pieces that could sit in so many settings, indoor or outdoor. A beautiful piece from that period. Now this is quality cast. It was, it's still very heavy. There's a lot of detail gone into every part of it. I absolutely love that piece. And a great example again of how brass has so many different pieces. We've got, so many different functions and practicalities. We've gone from a lab tap, to this beautiful jardinière stand or planter. So an absolutely stunning piece of work. And the person who sold it to me was basically said to me, they sold it to me and said, that's got to be worth the scrap value, which tells you how much I basically paid for it. I don't usually go into that. But this is the thing, people don't value a lot of this stuff. I think this is a beautiful piece, really happy to have found it, and an amazing thing for somebody to buy now and decorate their home and relive that amazing piece of French history. So we were talking about candlesticks earlier on, and what I got now are not just candlesticks. These are a piece of Lincolnshire history. Now if you have a look at there, on both of these has this very mischievous looking devil type creature. It's what is known as the Gothic Revival style from the mid to late 19th century during the Victorian era. Now why are these devils associated with Lincoln? Well, it goes to a story from Lincoln Cathedral. Now cast into the stone in the cathedral is a depiction of one of these devils. Now the story is that there was two imps, so they're known as the Lincolnshire imps. Two imps would be mischievous in the cathedral, and one of them was cast into stone and has been there since this day. Now what is great about these candlesticks is they are so Victorian in the fact that these were made. So in the Victorian era, folklore, revivals, medieval stories really started to grow and become popular, and you saw the development of tourism. Now that was largely down to the invention of the train and the rail network. It meant people could get across the country and visit different places a lot easier than ever before, and they would go to somewhere like Lincoln Cathedral, and of course there was tourist opportunities, ways to make souvenirs and all that. And that's what these would have come from. They would have come from that period, bought as souvenirs, and they have survived to this day. An amazing history behind them, part of Lincolnshire history, and I think they look absolutely great. And what a great pair to put on your shelf and to tell that story to this day. So we're going to show you even more evidence of the practicality of brass, and here I have a piece of maritime history. This is an amazing thing. This is a navigation light that would have been attached to a shipping vessel probably around the early 20th century, possibly a little bit before that. What you've got is cast in brass, this amazing long column, and then you have a green light right by here. And that was part of the regulations that came into place during the late 19th century around the green light being on the starboard side of every maritime vessel. And this is an amazing piece, and it shows you that story of brass because the thing is that this would have been out on the open seas, and brass does not corrode and it can survive those harsh environments. You know, it's got this cage which protects the glass. It's got this, it would have been completely attached here, and it has this piece which I believe goes through the center there. An amazing thing, and also this tells you a story of its time because it's before plastic came into play. This is glass. You know, a more modern one would have a hard plastic, and what an amazing piece of history. That can easily, I think, be converted into a table light, and what a good one that will be. What a way to stand out. A beautiful industrial thing, just an amazing reminder of our history. And I mean, if you're doing up your house and you want to have that industrial look, or pieces which are not easy to find and have their history, find me something better than that. You will find some of the highest quality pieces of antiques were made for churches, and the reason for that is because they wanted to bring awe, imagination, that sense of power to the congregation during those sermons. So churches would commission very high quality pieces, and this is a stunning example. This is a solid cast brass crucifix with Jesus. You can see just a solemn look in his face, just a detail across his up to his rib cages, down to his legs. You can see muscle definition. And what actually makes this one stand out is this stonework that you can see here. Now this was popular during this style. I say popular, it was done in a few places in France in the early 20th century for certain crucifixes. And this is actually meant to show the masonry of a stone-built church. It's an interesting story. As I say, there's a few other examples of this being done, which makes this quite an unusual and interesting crucifix. Now, there was lots of crucifixes made for tourism, for different churches, of course, as personal, what are they called now? Just personal keepsakes, or personal, you know, people would use for their own spiritual guidance, all that type of thing. So there's a lot of crucifixes around, but not many of this majesty, quality, and the detail of the crucifix itself, not to mention just the amazing casting of the face and the body. This is, you know, when you're looking for ecclesiastical antiques, so that's church related or religious related antiques, this is the type of piece that a collector would be looking for. This would look incredible on a wall. So an absolutely amazing piece, really solid, cast brass, again picked up at a car boot sale, and now available on my website. And I absolutely love finding things of this quality and story. And finally, I'm going to show you a piece that shows that antique brass was made across the world and can still be it's still amazing quality as well. Here we have Ganesha, the Hindu deity of beginnings, and you know, it's the traditional head that a lot of people recognize now, the elephant head sitting on this lotus base. This piece would have been made probably as for a personal shrine, for personal devotion. It's a lovely figure, you know, it's about 15 centimeters high, nice weight to it as well. And just the amount of symbolism that goes across this piece, from the hands, from this posture here. I can't remember exactly what that hand gesture means now, but yeah, just amazing levels of detail. I absolutely love this piece. I love finding pieces from across the world, and this is a great example of that. Now, figures like this in India were mass produced. You will see more modern examples of this exact posture and looking like this. Now, how do we know this is older? Well, this is cast brass. You can tell by the weight, and in the bottom you can see all the different casting marks that you can see beneath it as well. So my lighting isn't too good, so you can't see that. Another dead giveaway is this green elements that you see, especially in the riveted areas. Now, we haven't talked about that, but that green is seen on copper alloys, and it's a verdigris is what it's called. It's where oxidization happens, and it's just a build up, a chemical reaction, which does happen usually in these more riveted areas, especially on brass. On copper, you see it usually build from one point and grow, whereas brass, it can happen across the piece. Now, this is only something that happens with age. It can actually start to show, especially if it's left outdoors, a piece of brass. It can show within decades. However, when it's this exposed across the different areas, you know that there's a bit more age to this. I think it's probably early 20th century. It wouldn't surprise me that much to find out it's a bit, more closer to the mid 20th century. Age isn't that important to a piece like this. It's a beautiful, stunning item that just looks great on display. It's finely cast, a lot of detail to it. People love Ganesha, whether they're believers in the Hindu religion or not. They just absolutely love the spirit and what the purpose and the meaning, the peaceful meanings behind a deity like this. So another great find at the car boot sale, another great piece of brass. So there we go. There are 6 items of antique brass that I bought at car boot sales for amazing prices, which have everything going for them in terms of their quality, their history, their story, and of course the value behind them. So when you're out and about again, when you're looking at these brass pieces, if you're not doing it already, make sure to cast an eye over them, because whereas most of it is probably not going to be worth buying into, if you are looking for these special pieces which have these amazing stories and have good values to them, then yeah, most of it probably isn't going to be worth you buying, unless you're buying it extremely cheap. However, there are always going to be pieces amongst all that which stand out, which are better than the standard, and that usually comes down to why they were made, the quality and the time and the effort the makers put into them. So keep an eye out for them, because some of these pieces are absolutely spectacular and will be some of the best things that you ever find. So thank you again for watching the video. All I ask you to do now, if you haven't already, is click that like button. It really shows YouTube that this is a video that people are enjoying. And leave a comment and let me know if you had a favourite piece, if you have your own stories of brass, if you think there's things, other useful information about brass that others could benefit from, please leave a comment and let me know. And finally, of course, please press that subscribe button. I do appreciate it. I'm at 750 followers, there or thereabout at the moment, subscribers. I really want to get to that 1,000 mark, so if you can press it, if you're watching the video, if you haven't done it already, just give it a click. It's free to do, gives you notifications of when my next videos are out. And of course, go and visit my website, talliesandantiques.com, if you haven't already. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon. All the best. Goodbye now.